In the Game of the Year awards for 2017, Nintendo fans rejoiced after seeing Breath of the Wild win Game of the Year. But did it really deserve the title? Welcome everybody to my official Breath of the Wild review. This video is going to be made into 6 categories just like Mario Odyssey because I feel like they're two rivals. The categories are gameplay, story, bosses, music, atmosphere, and open world. I think this can really show what Breath of the Wild is made of and really see if it actually deserved that Game of the Year title. So, let's see the gameplay. Breath of the Wild took Zelda gameplay to a whole new level. The massive 3D open-world land of Hyrule was a first for the Zelda franchise. Having the freedom to explore wherever I wanted was one of the reasons Breath of the Wild is as popular as it is. There are so many hidden details to uncover, which are sometimes overlooked by the big story quests. The different landscapes blend well together, and you can just see the time and effort put into every inch of the map. Breath of the Wild took survival to a whole new level. Having weapons break was interesting, but in my opinion, they break way too fast. I did love the paraglider and cooking features. The amount of costumes, weapons, recipes, Korok seeds, shrines, and other collectibles is just crazy. I've played Breath of the Wild for almost 225 hours, probably even more, and I'm still only 33% completed with the game's huge content. That's a big game. Even though there aren't that many enemies, I always enjoyed their designs and felt like they worked well and looked well with the environment. Breath of the Wild has great story quests, which are some of my all-time favorite moments. The major flaws I found with the gameplay were the horse mechanics, which I thought were clumsy, and my horse always had to get stuck somewhere. The actual amount of enemies, which I thought was kind of low, and the weapon durability, which I thought could have been a lot higher. I can understand that they wanted to make the Master Sword more valuable because it can't break, but the weapon durability is still a big problem. Overall, a big thumbs up for the gameplay. Breath of the Wild's story is so intertwined with its exploration aspect. I felt so good having the freedom to explore wherever I wanted. I liked the tutorial area in the Great Plateau. It was big, but it was also small, so you could kind of appreciate the details in it, so you could get to know the world before you go into it. And I love how you can see everywhere around you as you explore the Great Plateau. Even though King Hyrule tells you about a storyline about Zelda trying to defeat Ganon and Ganon comes back to Hyrule and you have to free the divine beasts and save her, I thought that was all cool, but King Hyrule kind of bails right after he tells you that, and kind of just gives you the reins of the whole story. You can go fight Ganon head on, and that's a big step for Nintendo, being able to fight the final boss right at the start of the game. But I liked all the side quests too, all the many areas that you can find and all the little quests from the different people around the world really brought it to life, and some of them were really cool, like Terrytown and that one in Lurelin Village where you have to save the fishermen by attacking the Bokoblin camp. I thought those were cool, but the big thing about it was that you have to go out and find the story. That just amazed me and brought the game up to a whole new level. I did like going to get the divine beasts, and the whole characters there you meet are really good. And I overall really liked it, and it was really well put together, but just going out and exploring brought the story aspect of the game to a whole new level. The main main complaint a lot of people had with the Breath of the Wild bosses were that they were really similar to each other with just minor differences like their weapons and the soundtrack and kind of their overall design, but they all had similar features. Kind of the designs of the Guardians mixed with some type of blue weapon, and their face looked kind of like a flat stone, and then there was just the blue kind of eye in the middle. But even if they were really similar, I still really liked them. Having the champions kind of pump you on as you're fighting it and sing their spirits was kind of like a revenge story, trying to kind of like avenge them after the bosses had killed them. It kind of felt good beating them, and overall, I didn't expect to have that much suspense by fighting them, but it felt really nice battling them. The emotion was always there, the suspense was there, and the overall atmosphere of the bosses really worked in my opinion. And I think that they kept the bosses kind of similar so that they could give more creativity to the mini-bosses, like the Hinox or the regular Guardians or the skeletal monsters or stuff like that, where let the game kind of express itself in those areas that you have to go explore by yourself, so that there's that more kind of reward for going out and adventuring into the unknown. And for the final boss fight against Calamity Ganon, I loved how he took all the different features of the Blights and kind of just mushed them into one like just crazy boss fight. He had the tornado, the giant fireball, the laser bow and arrow, the huge spear, everything was there, and I was expecting a more kind of sophisticated boss fight, but I still had a bunch of fun just fighting a gigantic spider Ganon with a bunch of different weapons. And then for the Dark Beast Ganon boss fight, even though it was really easy, it was still a lot of fun. A lot of people said they didn't like it because it was really easy and too short, but I didn't think it was meant to be like a really hard boss fight. It was meant to be that finishing blow to kind of like a celebration to celebrate the journey that you've gone through, and I think it worked really well. I feel like they could have been a little bit more different, but I like the subtle differences in their soundtrack and the design. I think that the bosses are really good in Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild has one of the best soundtracks I've ever heard in my entire life. I've always looked at other soundtracks and was amazed by their collection of good tracks, but Breath of the Wild just took it to a whole nother level. They're so diverse, so emotional, so filled with such care that it felt so satisfying listening to every track. You got the calm notes as you're walking through a plain field. It really works well with that atmosphere of you're in this abandoned, ruined area. The slight piano notes keep you alert, but also let you drift off into the atmosphere. Then you just have these crazy battle themes when you're attacking these divine beasts. I mean, it's just crazy. There's trumpets, everything, so many cool instruments, so magical. And then you got the more comfortable soundtracks that are just there for the atmosphere, like Gerudo Town or Zora's Domain. They fit so well with the atmosphere, and they're so calming. They're not just a couple piano notes, and they're not some crazy orchestral battle. They're just there, and it felt so good. I love Breath of the Wild soundtrack so well. It fits so well with each area and the atmosphere, and it complemented the open world area so much. There's just so many tracks too. I think there's almost 6 hours worth of soundtracks. I never felt annoyed not to hear another track like a Pokemon game. I'll be on 3 routes in a row where it's the same soundtrack. I don't get annoyed in Breath of the Wild. There's soundtracks left, right, and center. Atmosphere is something hard to capture in video games, but Breath of the Wild captures atmosphere with excellence. Just exploring a ruined cabin in a vast field with the faint melody of piano notes around you was just so surreal. Nintendo did a great job making you really feel like you're in this desolate, lifeless world. I also love the towns and villages. They feel like safe havens, and the music is also calming and filled with care. The characters are really well made also and make great atmosphere. The boss fights are also really intense. The suspense, music, and designs of the creatures all together make a wonderful atmosphere for the game to flourish in. Every time I watch the Breath of the Wild trailer, I get goosebumps because I know the great atmosphere that this game has to offer. Breath of the Wild's open world feels so beautiful to be in. When I first got the game, I just roamed around. I had no idea what a Zelda was, a Link was. I thought a Hyrule was probably a person. But as I explored, I slowly pieced together what the Zelda franchise was and just found out the storyline by myself when I was exploring. One of my favorite moments was when King Hyrule just told me, Link, just go out there. He pointed in a direction and said, that's where you need to go, and told me that there was a Ganon and that I had to save the world. And I basically just said okay and just took off. I just got on my paraglider, jumped down, and I walked in that straight line that King Hyrule told me to because I was a linear thinker. I just did what the game told me to, and I had a bunch of fun most of the time. But Breath of the Wild was one of my first big open world games after Minecraft and some other games. And what really stood out to me was that the game is never pressing you, go do that, go do that, go do that. It's kind of just lets you lay back and gives you a bunch of opportunities but never actually pushes you to go do them. When I landed on the ground, I saw the words Hyrule Kingdom and I was just shocked and it felt so good, and I literally just walked in that straight direction for probably maybe 15 minutes on my birthday when I got it, and it was a ton of fun. I died right when I got to an enemy base, but then I did it all again, and every single time I got better. And I didn't get better because the game gave me the best weapons, or the best tips, or the best items to use. I got better because I practiced, and I got better, and the more times I did it, the more times I explored new areas, new little caves, a different beach, all these cool things you have to go explore by yourself. And that freedom makes Breath of the Wild so unique and makes it one of my favorite games of all time. Breath of the Wild's open world has so many secrets, and the best thing is you have to go uncover them. Some of my favorite moments in the game I could only find out because I had to go explore them. Stuff like Terrytown, Lurelin Village, the jungle area, all that stuff, the story doesn't even tell you about. I don't think there's even a reference to it. But you find it because you go out and explore it. And that's what makes Breath of the Wild such a great game and what amplifies its open world so well. Now, for the final score of Breath of the Wild, I have to give it a 96 out of 100. I know this is a lower score than Mario Odyssey, but please take into account a 96 out of 100 is a near perfect score. Breath of the Wild is truly amazing. There's so many cool mechanics. You got the runes, the horses, the paraglider, cooking, weapons, shield surfing, so many new mechanics, and it's just so much fun to play the game. It definitely deserves the title for Game of the Year, and I gotta give it a round of applause. Breath of the Wild, great game. I definitely recommend it to anybody who has a Switch. And yeah, Breath of the Wild is just a great game, a really good entry in the Zelda franchise. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Potato Sensei, out.